Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood.
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. Today's music is called Created at Night. Okay. The Asklepian Temple in ancient Greece. The Asklepian Temple in ancient Greece was a place where people could go to be healed by their dreams. Learn about a modern interpretation of this technique from our guest, psychotherapist, mindfulness teacher, and Dreamboat podcast host Laura Payne of the Dream Research Institute in London. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. I want to just share briefly a dream I had this week where I found that I had undergone some surgery and I was feeling really weak, and I was just kind of collapsed against the wall, like a heap of laundry against the wall, and somehow I knew I was never going back to the way I was before, and it wasn't scary. So I'm wondering, is this perhaps me learning how to be relaxed? Wow, wouldn't that be nice? So I'm mulling over that one. All right. So I want to say hello to Laura Payne. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hello, it's really welcome to. It's nice to have it the other way around. Actually, I'm not the one saying the welcome. So, hello, Catherine. Hello, Santa Cruz. It's a long time since I've been to Santa Cruz. And I know, having checked the weather, it's a lot nicer there than it is here in England.
Absolutely, yes, it is. It is quite lovely. So you do know Santa Cruz. So Laura Payne is the host of the Dreamboat podcast, and I recently had a whole show with her where I talked about finding love in my dreams, which was quite a lovely show. So thank you so much for Laura for putting your being on the other side of the microphone.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, Catherine, and talk about one of my most favourite subjects. It's my mastermind subject to a certain extent. It's looking at the Asklepian dream method,
right?
Which in its era in ancient Greece, and not just in ancient Greece, also in ancient Rome, was probably the main thrust of healing within the Mediterranean. And it comes out of the ancient myth of Asclepius, which we can have a look at. Mm-hmm. But the Asklepions, which were the name for these, they were weird, actually. They weren't just temples. They were prototype hospitals, and some of the prototype doctors like Galen and Hippocrates came out of the Asklepians. So they were prototype hospitals. I was interested in your surgery dream, actually, Catherine.
Oh, yeah.
Because they did surgery. They did quite a lot of surgery in these temples, but they were more than that. Part of dream healing for the ancients was not just rocking up and seeing a doctor. It was about your dreaming, but more importantly, it was about being entertained. So they were a cross between what I would call a movie complex, an entertainment complex, and a sort of wellness spa. So all of these modern day things would be linked together, and that would be your typical Asklepion. And the famous ones in particular are Epidavros, which is in the Peloponnese, can't say that very easily, in mainland Greece. And also there were about 365 dotted around the Mediterranean. They were very influential and very important as part of the culture of the time. There was another big one at Pergamon as well, which is now in modern day Turkey. And you would go along to the Asklepian, you'd be entertained by great plays, you'd have, fabulous massages, but you would check in at the start with whatever your problem was. And you would be consulting what were known as psychotherapeutes. And psychotherapeutes was where we get the word psychotherapy from. They were the first. And you would go and you would basically say what your problems were. You would make an offering to the god himself, so votive offerings as they were known. And then you would submit yourself to the sanctuary process, which would be entertained. But each night, what you were expected to do was to go to sleep in the dream incubation chambers, which was known as enkoimesis. And you would go to sleep, and in the morning, you would check in with your psychotherapist and tell them your dream to see whether it had one of 5 critical symbols, was what they were actually looking for healing. So did you dream of a snake, a dog, a cockerel, the god himself, Asclepius, or an old man as an equivalent, and the god's son, Telesphorus, who often is seen as a dwarf-like figure, but as a child in particular. So if one of those symbols came up in your dream, the psychotherapists would be all over you, because that would be that would be the clue to the god letting you know what your healing should be.
So those are the powerful symbols: the snake, the dog, the cockerel, the god himself, and the god's son. Oh, those are the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you can stay there quite a while. I think you'd have to be fairly wealthy. You'd stay there for a while, keep checking in your dreams until you had one of the dreams. And they would keep basically sending you back down into the incubation area. And these areas were full of snakes. The snake was quite particular because it's obviously got a deep symbol of transformation. It's part of both ancient and modern interpretations of the snake, because of being able to shed its skin means it has the ability to change and to transform. And so it had the temples were full of Asklepian snakes, which you can still find in Greece. They're massive. They're absolutely huge. They're quite scary.
Is there a particular kind of snake called Asklepian snakes?
They are, yeah, and they're non-venomous.
Okay,
but
that's good.
They can be really quite large. Anyway, you would sleep with these things crawling all around you.
Yikes!
Not to give you nightmares, not
well,
dreams.
That's the idea. I guess to dream about the snake is kind of the point, right?
Exactly.
And so somehow these dreams would then be help the psychotherapist, help them see what the key to their healing was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so for me, I've played around with this like quite a few modern day Asklepiads. We've sort of had a look at it. I run retreats, and I've asked people, we've basically each day checked in our dreams, and it's been absolutely fascinating. And the example I like to give in particular was a businesswoman who had come on one of my retreats. She came very stressed. She was anxious, like a lot of us, particularly if you're in the corporate world. Yeah. And she wasn't too sure about the method, but she came because she was told it was a good wellness gig. So it was a nice weekend.
Well, you can take a massage and see a play. That's not bad.
Exactly. I wasn't offering that bit.
Okay.
We were just doing sort of dream analysis in a nice, quiet,
fair enough
space with some good food thrown in.
Well, there you go.
And she had a dream so she came in skeptical, is what I'm saying, and not really fully focused on the process. But that night, she had a dream where the god himself turned up in the dream. And he took her to an agora, which is the word for a Greek marketplace, and he showed her around the marketplace. and he showed her all the food that she was eating that was wrong for her. And he showed her all the food that he thought would be more suitable to help her feel less stress and more in control of her life. When she checked the dream in, she was literally blown away by it. And why not? I mean, it was, I still quote it now as a great example. And she suddenly realized that there was quite, something in this. This was quite powerful. And she did have a transformation.
And did she follow the diet that was recommended to her?
She did.
Okay.
Yes, she did. And it made a massive impact on her life. So it's for me, it's a fabulous modern day example of, how this can work.
Okay. But she had the God. Let's go right to number 5. Right? Go to the God. And I say dreams about snakes and dogs are way more common than about these sorts of things. And cockerels, I don't know. I don't think chickens are that common appearing in modern dreams so much, although dogs and snakes are quite common. And so, this is the kind of the Asklepian ideal, but I take it that you don't just rely on those 5 symbols when you're doing the work with people, right?
No, I've got other dream techniques, but if we're doing an Asklepian retreat, then I will specifically look for the signals, the symbols, and talk about them. It's interesting you mentioned about cockerels because what I often do before we start the retreat is I'll start sending people images so they can start getting into the process more quickly. And I had one retreatant who checked in that she had dreamt of a cockerel, and she said, "I never dream of chickens or anything.
Right.
It's not my thing," as she was trying to explain. But she realized that the cockerel was waking her up. She realized she had to wake up to something new. So she took it, and when she came on the weekend, she had a very moving weekend. Actually, it was transformational for her. But the cockerel was the bit that made her realize that she had to wake up. And the cockerel, I think, was chosen as one of the key symbols because it was a cockerel that they would sacrifice usually to the god when they arrived. So it was deeply embedded in the symbolic culture of being an important animal and an important symbol because it was a very personal offering.
Right. I wonder if you would like to touch a little bit on the idea of the dog as the symbol, because I understand snakes of being transformation, losing their skin and all that. Cockerel, we just talked about. God, of course, dreaming about God is powerful. But what about dogs? I mean, I've heard I have a lot of ideas about dogs, and I've heard a lot of things. So what is your take on the symbol of a dog in a dream?
Yeah, well, for the ancients, the dog was a psychopomp. So a really important figure that would go between the worlds, basically between this world and the world of the dead. So you had Cerberus, for instance, as the guard dog of Hades. But any form of dog was often seen by the ancients as a psychopomp, bringing a message. For me now, a lot depends on, with all of these symbols, it's what's your own language around it. And that's when I'm working with people, as you know, Catherine, you do the same thing. What is the language that the symbol means for you, first of all, as the sort of querent in this? What does that language mean for you? Yes, for instance, let's take the snake. That it's got loads of imagery and symbolism wrapped up around it. Every culture has got something associated with the snake, both positive and negative, obviously. But what does it mean for you? When you work with clients, as you know, some people will have a violent reaction to thinking, "Oh my God, there's a snake in my dream. No, there's a snake in my boots." But for other people, it's something of there's a curiosity and a warmth towards it. So, or people will have distinct attachments to that symbol in a specific way. So. Don't jump to the first conclusions is what I always say to people like yourself.
So I want to just, the word psychopomp, maybe I missed it, but to just define that is the creature that leads you to the god. Is that right? Like you said,
Yes.
Cerberus is like at the gate of the underworld, and when you go in, So we used to have the motto in our DreamWorks circles, which is follow the dog. Whatever the dog is doing in the dream, like, are you leashed? Do you feel like you're leashed all the time? Or are you running? Are you going toward the cave? Like maybe you'd like to go toward the cave. Like follow. That was kind of the motto of one of the groups that I was associated with.
I love it. What a great motto.
I know. We all love those dogs anyway.
Exactly. I think it's essential for good dreaming. Yeah, follow the dog. The psychopomp is between the realms of consciousness. So would be specifically in the ancient world, that would be a creature that takes messages from one realm to the other realm, or usually from this plane to the plane of the dead, or spirits that have passed over. So a psychopomp is a form of messenger, for want of a better description.
Okay. I'm kind of get interested in this whole theme of creatures here. Creatures. Do you want to talk some more about creatures, or do you want to take the conversation in another direction? Like, what's up for you that you'd like to turn toward now?
I agree with you. I think follow the dog in the dream is a really good motto, and also follow the snake. In fact, any creature that comes to visit you in the dream, if you're a First Nation, it will be an important part of your culture. Is what association do you have with the eagle or the cockerel or whatever? These are, important. Again, I'm going to use the word psychopomps in all cultures and sort of religious beliefs. So it's, again, what do you associate with that symbol becomes very, very important. I love dreams with dogs. I'm an absolute dog lover. I currently have a very fat lab, and he often pops up in my dreams. That's just one of my previous dogs as well. He was definitely a psychopomp, my last dog.
There's something about dreams with animals in them, that there's something powerful and kind of nonverbal about that. Like when I'm connecting with a whale in a dream, or a horse, like that's so powerful. Those big creatures, these horses are really amazing dream symbols. And there's something about having the animal in the dream really seems to touch into something that goes beyond my everyday norm. And so I love the idea of really focusing on animals in dreams, just as one of the things to focus on. But there's something about animals that I really
I agree. It's that non-verbal aspect. You're right, Catherine, is really important. There's something about it cutting through the liminal space and that heady material that we go into as humans. It cuts through that and gets to the psychological and emotional heart of things if you're working with animals in dreams, because they represent something outside of the brain in that respect, and enable us to sort of park up all of that sort of mental material and allow us to access something symbolically at a deeper level that the psyche is really trying to say to us in dreaming.
I love that. Now, one thing that struck me about what you were talking about, the Asklepians, these places I now know the word, Asklepian, is that they actually would do surgery and other kinds of medical assistance. I didn't realize that was the case. I thought it was primarily, or maybe so only, spiritual healing that was going on. But there's actually also, there's actual physical healing going on as well.
There are lots of records of varying surgeries that were carried out, and these became, as I said, prototype hospitals. So they went from being dream healing communities to the place where you would go if you wanted to get well. And so they had medical schools in these Asklepions. As I said, Hippocrates and Galen, two famous sort of doctors from the ancient world. That's where they did their training. They went to an Asklepion and did their training in the prototype hospitals. So they had forms of anesthetic that they were playing around with. I think a lot of the dreaming probably took place under the influence of certain herbs. And so they knew how to knock each other out using varying herbs and whatnot. So they were not, prototype anesthetics basically. And I don't fully know what type of operations they actually carried out.
Probably
I
fairly
cannot-
limited, but I'm sure setting of bones and
Exactly.
burns, taking care of wound
Definitely.
healing and things like that. I'm sure was something they would do.
Yeah, setting of bones, you're right on that one, very much so. And probably all experimental, but probably a lot of the knowledge we've taken on over the centuries has come out of these situations, these hospitals, for want of a better description.
Right. I wanted to tie that back in with my introductory dream about having surgery. And that's actually a fairly common theme for me. I've had numbers of surgical dreams over the years, and I do feel like dream work is a kind of surgery. It's kind of psychic surgery or, emotional surgery, just really rearranging me. And so it's interesting to have this dream because sometimes it's been scary to have that surgery, but in this case, it was just I accepted that I had the surgery and I'd never be the same again, and I just needed to get used to being in my new body. In the dream that I wrote down, I had a new body.
Oh, wow, that's really very, that's a big dream, actually.
Yeah. So I have to figure out how to use this new body, how to be in this new body, and I thought it was pretty meaningful.
Yeah, without sort of being very personal, do you want to say what the surgery involved, or can you remember where it was in terms of setting?
Well, it was abdominal surgery is what I wrote down, and I wondered if maybe it was an appendectomy. And actually, I had a very traumatic experience with a ruptured appendix in 2005. And so I wonder if part of this is about healing after that. I ignored my feelings for several days until my appendix ruptured and almost died. And it was a big wake-up call for me. I was 10 days in the hospital, and I was like, wow, these feelings are important. I have to pay attention to these feelings. I thought I could ignore my feelings. They weren't important. I'm like, okay, I don't need to pay attention to that. It's just gas or something. I was just like, yeah, it hurts, but I can ignore that. And I just, I was really a wake-up call to realize I couldn't ignore those feelings, and I definitely shouldn't. So there's that in my history. And so I think that's important in this dream, and that this dream is some level of healing from that self-abandonment, which almost resulted in my death.
Yeah, I was thinking again, a bit like the woman with the cockerel dream.
Yeah.
This feels like a wake up.
Yeah.
Whereas before you almost sleepwalked into the appendectomy. Is the fact that you've remembered that now? What are you being asked to look at now that you might be sleepwalking into? Is possibly one of the messages out of that particular dream.
Well, that's interesting. One thing that comes up is that I just recently finished this Festival of Dreams, which my listeners know all about, and which was a regional dream event here in Santa Cruz, sponsored by the IASD, and I took on way more than I should have, and I slept walk all the way up until. Well, I think I'm still recovering from that, and I had a team of people, but there were people who were volunteering to help, and I'm like, oh, I can't, what could you possibly do? And yet I was spending so many hours, there must have been something they could have done. And then one of my team members got sick, and I had to take on that whole job, which was a big core, it was volunteer coordination, which was a huge job just a few weeks before. So I took on all these tasks that were way beyond what I should have. I slept walk into that one. And since then, I've been having all these dreams about that. So it's interesting. I had never thought about sleepwalking in this context. But one of the dreams that I've already shared on the show is I had this small plate with a big steak on it, way too big. My plate was way too full. And then I had a dream about Vulcans, who don't acknowledge their feelings. And so, I think maybe this dream here, I like that you're asking me these questions, Laura, because this dream is maybe helping me revisit that kind of self-abandonment that I did just so recently. And can I use this to wake up and not do more, not carry on into more?
Really, I'm very curious because if you think about it, when we go for surgery, It is a complete exercise in trust. We hand ourselves over to somebody to do the work.
That's true.
We're not in control. We have to delegate this role, this surgical role, to somebody else. And so in the dream, you let go and you did trust them and you woke up with a new body. So this feels like a whole new step forward in your life of possibly learning to trust and let go.
I believe.
Part of
I hope.
surviving something.
I hope so. I'm ready. Because I don't want to stop organizing conferences. I love it. I'm one of the organizers of the big annual conference too, and I'm I don't want to take on more than I can handle again, any more than necessary. I guess apparently I need to do it occasionally, but hopefully I can keep it to a dull roar. So like by being aware. So something about this being floppy. The phrase I ended with was being floppy and disoriented. So like maybe it's okay to be relaxed and not really know exactly what's going on. Maybe that's okay.
Well, it's an interesting sort of take from it. I agree. And also that you can trust others, and it might be disorientating to begin with, but it has a strong purpose. I like the steak dream, by the way. The alchemist in me, with alchemy and dreams, obviously they're very closely associated. When we dream of meat, in particular meat,
Really?
but food per se, but in particular meat. If we dream of meat, and you don't get more meaty than a large steak.
Right.
If we dream it, it's known as coagulatio, which is the alchemical process of being grounded, making something happen, manifesting something. That's
like
earthly.
incarnate, like the word incarnate. It's carne is meat.
Exactly. And so having a meat dream, making something, particularly after, did it come after the surgery dream?
No. The meat dream was a couple of weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago now, and the surgery dream was just a few days ago.
So that's interesting. So you actually manifested something. So the body, with surgery, the body is also a form of coagulatio. So this is about transformation by, the alchemists would say, by earth, by the earth plane, which is different than transformation by water, which is solutio, transformation by fire, which is calcinatio, and transformation by air, which is sublimatio. And so you've got a lot of personal transformation through the coagulatio operation. So that's I mean, there's a lot of grounding going on in your life, Catherine. It feels like so very, very exciting.
That sounds good. I'm ready. I think that's part of what I'm here to do, and apparently it's already starting to happen for me.
Yeah.
So Laura, this is wonderful. I wanted to take a short break here, but let me say again, this is Laura Payne from the Dream Research Institute of London, England, and her webpage is laurapayne.co.uk, and Payne is spelled Payne, laurapayne.co.uk. We're broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU and podcast everywhere. So we'll be right back. You are listening to The Dream Journal, and I am Catherine Bell of Experiential Dream Work. I'd like to send out a special welcome to our far-flung listeners. We have a international group today for sure. Santa Cruz, Aptos, Watsonville, Saratoga, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, San Jose, Salinas, Sacramento, Corona, California, San Bernardino, Seattle, Surrey, and British Columbia, Taos, New Mexico, Antioch, Tennessee, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Quebec in Canada, and we even have a listener from Hungary. So glad to have you on the air. If you'd like to increase the interest of dreaming across the planet, Please follow the Dream Journal on all your favorite podcast apps and go ahead and leave a rating or a review if you are inspired. But most importantly, I encourage you to talk to your friends because the mission of the show is to get people talking about dreaming. I would say it's time to think about the IASD conference in June in Ashland, Oregon, June 13th through 17th. If you are an author or have dream-related offerings you'd like to share, or if you have ideas that you're passionate about or a story to tell, now is the time to submit your proposal for a presentation. We're almost to the end of that. The deadline for proposals is December 19th. Details can be found at iasdconferences.org/2026, and you can attend and give your presentation, put in your submission by December 19th. Next week, we welcome back Dr. Susan Schwartz, who will be talking about her research into narcissism and being in relationship with narcissists, and something I'm very curious about. I think we'll have a lot to say about that topic. All right, today we are talking to Laura Payne, who is the host of the Dreamboat podcast, and she is also a psychotherapist and a lecturer, a mindfulness teacher at the Dream Research Institute based in London, England. And her webpage can be found at laurapayne.co.uk. Payne is spelled Payne, and she is also the author of 9 Steps to a Mindful Life Without Meditating. That sounds like it would be good for me, Laura. Yes, meditation is still a challenge. I'm just saying. So sitting next to me, though, I have a meditator. This is Steve Pop, who is a host of the Garden Show, which comes on right before ours. And,
I'm hiding behind my microphone. Here we go. Yes.
That's it.
Good morning, Laura.
Hi, Steve.
So,
do you meditate in your garden?
Yeah, well, I do, as a matter of fact, in several locations. But I'm here, sort of assisting engineering, and I couldn't help but be fascinated by the aspect of animals and healing. I had a recent, rather intense dream with a lot of animals in it, actually, and it made no sense to me at all. But I thought I would recount it here simply because it seems appropriate. I have been dealing with some medical issues, rather serious ones myself more recently. So when this dream came up, I had no connection at all to it being health related. But here it goes. It starts out in what appears to be like a very desert like location, in a large canyon that seems to be like a wrecking yard or a storage yard. There's just all kinds of broken cars and containers. And there's some kind of a conflict, a fight going on in this location. And it's all women, and they're armed to the teeth with firepower weapons and shooting at each other. And I'm like, this is not a place I want to be. So I'm hiding behind a storage container, and I suddenly see that going up the side of the mountain, there's this sort of a ravine, and there are all of these children running up this ravine. So I say, well, I'm with you guys. Follow them up the ravine. I get to the top of this ridge, and it's beautiful in that it's desert, but mountainous desert with, all kinds of plants and shrubs and cacti, etc. But I've lost track of the children, and I come to a point in the trail that goes left and right, and I don't know where they've gone, but I catch a glimpse off to my right and start moving in that direction, and there is a very large moose. And I'm like, what is a moose doing out in the desert in the mountains? This makes no sense. I start moving towards it. It takes off and goes around a corner of a big rock. I follow around, and I'm going down this trail, and I'm dropping into yet another canyon where suddenly there are 3 very large warthogs with huge tusks, and one of them begins charging me and attacking me. And I'm like, oh, this just can't be good. So I'm climbing up on the rocks to get away, and they're very loose and shaly, and I actually push off a boulder that doesn't land on this warthog, but it scares the 3 of them off. I'm like, oh, good, great, okay. So I'm coming down again, and now there are 2 leopards and one of the leopards is approaching me, and I'm like, oh no, what is this? So I pick up some stones, and I love cats, by the way. I'm not frightened. Actually, I love animals. I'm not frightened by animals per se, but this was a little terrifying. And so I start throwing stones at the leopard, and they finally back off. And I'm very concerned. I don't want to hurt anything here. But so I thought, okay, I've got to backtrack. So I go back the way I came, and I come around the corner, and there, right alongside the trail, is the biggest gray lynx I have ever seen in my life, like an Iberian lynx. Wow. And I'm like, this is just getting nuts. And the lynx looks at me and says, yeah, it really is. And I said, well, can we just give this a pass? And it goes, yeah, no problem. And I'm on my way. And that was the dream. So.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
Steve, what a super dream.
Nuts.
I think that would be a gateway to lucidity in some service. Right?
Exactly.
This can't be real.
That's how I felt. It's just,
I mean, Catherine and I probably work in a similar way. But if you had, you have presented me with that dream. But if we were in a sort of a therapy setting, my first question would be, I'll tell you the bits that intrigue me. Obviously, the animals. I'd love to know what your associations are with the animals. But as you talked, you can't see this, but I tracked the movement, because movement in dreams is really fascinating, and it's and can be deeply spiritual. So going up obviously has a spiritual connotation. It's very opposite from what I would call the collaguatio dream of coming down and meat and whatnot. So you went up following the children. So I'm intrigued by your inner child at this point. I'm also intrigued by your relationship with the inner feminine, because in the depths of this canyon were women who were fighting.
Yeah.
And you use the expression, I don't want to hurt anything.
No.
And that, for me, would be a critical part of this dream. I'd like to explore what that means for you, not wanting to hurt anything, particularly if you're facing surgery or serious illnesses. Serious illnesses tend to hurt. And so there's this separation in some way from not wanting to hurt anything, but feeling hurt. And I would want to explore that. But you go up the mountain, which is deeply symbolic, following children, where you meet at the top this moose. So I would love to explore the conversation that you could possibly have with the moose, as well as what you associate with it. Because it's after you meet the moose that something spiritual happens that enables you to descend again to meet the other animals. And so I would be very curious about taking you to the top of the mountain. If I was working with you, I would get you to draw that. That would be a really interesting, draw the whole thing. I find the scene very interesting because we have the deeply feminized but not feminized mechanical scene of this junkyard, this scrapyard with old cars and containers and whatnot.
Right.
So that's very that's very heavy and very broken.
Well, for me, it might have something to do with, just to add a little piece, what am I letting go of? Like what no longer works that I'm letting go, that I'm junking.
Exactly. But then you leave the sort of the broken part. This is the ego in its sort of fearful state. Then you go up the mountain and you find something. You find a peace. You use the word, it was beautiful. And so there's something very healing about finding that beauty as you climb the mountain, particularly following the inner child. That's the bit that I find really quite symbolic. And then you meet the moose. I'm just very tempted. You don't have to go into any real personal details. But what do you associate with the moose?
Well,
moose?
Boy, I used to live in the Sierras, the Northern Sierras. We had lots of deer, but we had no elk or moose. Don't even think I've seen a moose in real life in my life, but I certainly didn't feel any threat. as I did from the other animals. I felt more like, gosh, this is big enough you could ride it. It was as big as a horse. I don't know what a real moose looks like. It had those huge, antlers, and I only got a glimpse of it, and I was kind of sorry for that because it disappears around the corner right away, but I had this distinct feeling it was saying, follow me.
Interesting.
But other than that, I can't give you any sound significant association with moose other than moose and squirrel. But that's going back a ways. So,
well, I think you said a lot, Steve. I mean, what you said is that this, and it's interesting that this this animal is not threatening, unlike the other animals that you encounter afterwards, the warthog, leopards, lynx. And that this is something reminds me like of King Arthur or something. Follow me, like going into the woods, and so I'm curious, like even all the other animals, leaving them aside because I don't know.
I've had dreams of riding deer before.
Okay.
I thought I was on a pony, and it turned into a deer, and that was a pretty powerful dream some time back. I guess maybe I was slightly tempted by the idea of maybe getting a ride,
Well,
but
moose are big. They are bigger than deer.
yeah, I know, way so. But and this was big, but it just kind of wandered off.
Interesting. I wonder if that's like something part of me that's out there that I'm being called to, and I don't know. I'm curious.
It feels like a psychopomp, as we were talking earlier on. It's a bit like how a dog sometimes is the psychopomp. This, for you, feels like a very spiritual animal. This is almost like a spirit guide in animal form. And so it has a real psychopomp feel. And so if I was working with you on a one-to-one basis, I'd ask you, we'd go back into the dream together using the waking dream technique, and then I'd get you to follow the moose. Let's see where the moose will take you. Be very, very interesting. And it feels like it could be quite a healing journey as well for you, particularly.
Wow.
Because, it's like, there be dragons. It's coming back down again. There be leopards and lynx and things that are a little bit more dangerous.
Of all things, warthogs.
And boy, I mean, prehistoric looking with these huge tusks and very strange, very strange.
Interesting.
Shining white tusks.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting because moose have these massive antlers. I mean, they're very, very distinctive. They're ginormous animals. People don't, until you see one, you don't realize how big they actually are.
Yeah, I can only
seen them
imagine.
Wild in Canada, but obviously. But they are very powerful beasts. And yet this one speaks to you in some way. This one calls you, and I think that's actually really quite beautiful.
Not quite. Doesn't speak quite as literally as the lynx did at the end of the dream.
Yeah, no.
Having the animals.
Well, that was such a relief. I was just like, oh, cool. And I love lynx. I mean, that's another one of my feline favorite creatures. But it was a mutually agreed upon. Let's just make it the end.
Thank you.
Fun to talk to the lynx more, wouldn't it? If
True.
you were sort of working with the dream, just to see what clues it had, what it felt about the moose, and the warthogs and the leopard.
Oh, wow, there's an idea.
Its take on the very dangerous inner feminine, if I might say so.
There was something going on down there. Yeah. Well, I might have to sculpt this one.
Exercise for the dreamer. Huh? Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you sharing
Thank you, Laura.
dream. And
Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
And I invited Max back into the studio because I know he has some question for you as well, or a comment or something. So thank you so much, Steve. And we have somebody on the phone.
Thanks,
I know
Steve.
Kathy's on the phone. We're gonna get to you in just a few minutes. We'll have you come on the line in a second. Kathy, just hang in there and let's get Max situated.
Hi, Max.
All right.
Hello. Okay, first off, I have to apologize. I'm a little bit out of the broadcast here. I haven't heard the last little bit here.
Right. He had to wait outside for a second, but we were just talking about Steve's dream of many animals.
Okay. Well, I frequently have a dog in my dream, and I'm frequently a dog in my dreams. And you were speaking about them being a psychopomp, which is a word I've recently become aware of. and it's also something that I seem to do in my dreams a lot. So I'm wondering, is there also a connection with the Asclepius, with the transition between waking and dreaming?
Yes, very much so. I mean,
Okay.
I'm intrigued. What do you associate with dogs? Do you mind saying?
Mhm.
What does the dogs bring up for you?
Well, they're just frequently companions in a dream
And in real life?
and in real life.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have dogs?
Not until I was late in life. Yeah.
And do you have dogs now?
We have a dog now. Yeah. He'd like to say I have a special connection with him, but he's definitely a mama's boy.
Oh. And is it this dog that appears in the dream? Or
No,
is
it's
it
not.
or a dog you've had before?
No, it's not. And it's frequently more of a wild dog type.
Including the one times when you are the dog, you're
Yeah,
also
yeah.
like a wild dog.
Yeah, a mutt or a wild dog of some kind. But
And when you are the wild dog, what's that like for you? What does that feel like?
feels very natural.
Natural, huh? Very
Yeah, so
natural.
sometimes I have a hard time telling if I am the dog or if I'm a person in the dreams.
For
Like
me,
if
I
I'm
like to work with qualities. And so this is a great example of what qualities, when you are the dog, what qualities do you have when you're the dog?
That's a good question.
Qualities.
I think it's persistence
Mm-hmm.
and loyalty.
Nice. Persistence and loyalty. And how do you bring those into your waking life?
I think
How
I
do you
admire both
embody
of
them
them.
in your...
I
Sorry?
admire both of those qualities in waking life too.
Yeah. And can you embody them in waking life?
I think I can.
Would you like to embody them more?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I just admire their society when they get together. When dogs are running free,
Yeah.
they have a certain cohesion to them that's sort of better than human cohesion, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it? That's what's often known when you have animals in a pack, it's known as mood contagion. And we have it as humans, but we don't always get to see it. And it's often known as, another phrase for it is crowd resonance. It's and you can see that in crowds of people. But
yeah.
in animals, it's an unconscious form of communication, and you see it in murmurations, for instance, when you get flocks of birds or fish all following each other and keeping a form. And there's something about animals collectively that communicate in very special ways, as do we. We're just not so aware of it.
I
And
think
there's
that's very
something
fascinating for me too, because I think dogs communicate with humans very well.
Yes. Mine has the best eyes ever when he wants something, and you know exactly what it is that he wants.
Usually, occasionally there's a failure of telepathy, but I'm like, I don't know what you want. I really don't. But usually it's clear.
It reminds me of in Jungle Book. You're too young to remember when Tar, the snake that goes, "Trust in me." My dogs does a really good version of that.
I love that.
Oh dear.
And then
So I love your dream, Max. I think it's a beautiful dream, and I think if I was working with you, I'd like to tap into those qualities that you find as a dog in your dream world, and how you could express them and bring them more into your waking life.
well, the thing that you said earlier that really struck me was when you talked about them being a messenger between the two realms of existence, because they frequently drag me across the doorway to dreams, or precede me, or follow me, or indicate where it is, or something like that. But I'm just going to sleep.
Yep.
Well, I think that's lovely to have a companion, a dream companion like that. And it aids good sleep and probably aids good dreaming as well, which a lot of people don't have. I think you're really blessed, actually.
Thank you. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And thank you, Laura. And Kathy, I'm afraid we are not going to get to you. We have to close out now. I know. Well, I'm pretty sure it's Kathy from Corona, I'm guessing. I could say a quick hi. You there, Kathy?
I am here.
I'm sorry. We're so close to the end of our time, but thanks for calling. And
I appreciate it. And the show today has been especially fascinating. So I would love to have your guest back today, and if at all possible, at some point.
Okay, great.
Just animals, to me, animals are amazing.
They
So
are.
thank you for the show
All right.
today, and hey, thank you, Steve, for the appearance of the moose. Delightful.
The moose. All right. Well, thanks, Kathy. We'll talk soon. Okay, you can send me an email too.
I sure will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. So Laura, this is Laura Payne, and her webpage is laurapayne.co.uk, Payne. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with our listeners? Anything you're offering coming up, or any new projects you're excited about that you'd like to finish with, Laura?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, obviously we tune in sometimes to the Dream Boat, but don't not dream in. Tune into the Dream Journal. That's important. If you're interested in the Asklepian method and you fancy a wellness retreat, I'm going to be running one in Greece again next year, in October next year, and that will feature on my website in early January, when you'll be able to find out a few more details. It's a 5-day retreat. And we meet in Athens and we visit both Epidavros, which is the Asklepion. We spend 2 days there, probably, well, 2 afternoons, but also we'll visit Elefsina en route, which is part of the Eleusinian Mysteries, another fascinating dream subject, perhaps for another time. But that's the Persephone and Demeter resurrection myth. Pre-Christian, but very much part of the ancient world, like the Asklepian myth was as well.
Well, I went to Greece many, many years ago, and it's a very magical place. So it sounds like an amazing opportunity. So do you have any last short encouragements for our listeners, Laura?
Yeah, keep dreaming and keep sharing your dreams, because that's the way forward. That is the power of dreams, and the power of dreaming, as Catherine quite rightly calls it. Keep sharing your dreams, keep writing them down, because that's how the psyche knocks at your door each night. These are the areas that it would like you to heal and pay attention to, and if you don't pay attention to them knocking on the door, then they'll go away and perhaps try again with something else. But you're missing a golden opportunity of working with something that it's offering you significantly and symbolically.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura Payne. So good to have you on the show.
Nice to see you again, Catherine.
All right.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much for the invite. And enjoy the weather in Santa Cruz, everyone.
Oh,
It's warmer than here.
Santa Cruz works for me. Thank you. All right. And thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz. We are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. You can email me at catherine@ksqd.org. That's KATHERINE at ksqd.org. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag the Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to keep up with the shows. I'd like to thank Rick Cleffel, engineer and music creator. Audio editing by Suki Westling, and phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.